You'd be really bad at role play.
You know what I mean? I'm so good at role play. I frequently role play with women that I'm not an absolute emotional disaster.
That is fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even make a joke about that. That's the truest statement I think you've ever made.
Yeah, and it was great. It's great because it was like a joke, but it was true.
Yeah. Totally. Totes. You're so silly.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Menage-A-Pod, the hysterical comedy podcast about sex, about dating, about relationships, and about whatever else we want to talk about. I'm TJ. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, BFF, and the avocado to my toast, Jenna.
Hi. Not gonna lie, right before we started recording, TJ like coughed and put his hands up in the air, and I wanted to be like, how big is TJ?
So big.
That's exactly what that reminded me of. But then he started to record, so I couldn't do it.
I do that every time I take my pants off.
Wow.
How big is TJ? So big.
What a disappointment those ladies must do when they then see after they hear you say it. Yeah.
That's accurate. God damn it.
Do you like my sweatshirt?
I do. You know why I like it?
Why?
Well, because first of all, you're beautiful.
Thank you. It's because I put mascara on for you.
Yeah, she put on makeup.
I did. He sat here and watched me do it and then said, it's amazing what a little makeup can do for you.
Honestly, that's why, I mean, it's no different from me having a beard.
Well, this is true. This is true. And I also think you're just not used to seeing me in it anymore. It's a surprise. Got to keep you on your toes, she says with jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
Anyway, what's new with you?
Well, everything is new. Life is good. Things are great.
Great.
I'm just like feeling, I don't know. Can I just say,
always
in the last couple episodes, there's been like some sad tones. Well, not the last couple, but prior to that, I talked about how I felt more rejected at the back half of 2020 than I like ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Like literally, and I probably had. I think like more girls like pieced out on me than like ever had. I'm pleased to report to you, to the dog, and to all of our lovely listeners that I've had a change in luck.
That's good.
Yeah, it feels great.
It's exciting.
Yes.
I love that for you.
I love it for me too.
I love that for you.
Oh, thanks. Girl.
You know.
Yes, queen.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. My adorable little neighbor said that the other day too to me. I had said something. We were talking about the dog and she was like, I love that for you. And I was like, I'm going to use that. Anyway. Well, that's good. I'm excited for you. That's great.
Man, I've been like going.
Things are coming up, TJ.
Oh yeah, I've been going on dates left and right. I'm like, I'm going to be doing stand up again, so that's a thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, more details to come on that, but as soon as I'll let everybody know, so you can come check me out.
Yeah, I will come check you out with my mask on.
I'm going to check you out right now, looking all good in our Menage-A-Pod hoodie and that makeup you've got on.
That's what it is. I mean, you didn't stand a chance. I have a 1-2 punch. I'm wearing our merch, and we're both vain enough to be super stoked about it.
So stoked,
right?
Yeah.
And then I'm
just
on
stoked
mascara.
that you acknowledge
like,
that I'm not the only vain one. Thanks.
Oh no, I'm 1,000% vain. Like,
Okay.
Are you kidding? Also, I wear this a lot. I got this like a week ago, this sweatshirt.
Okay.
And I wore it. Where was I? I was somewhere, and this guy was like staring at me. And I could tell he was looking at my sweatshirt. And I think at first I thought, LOL, he probably thinks it says Menage-A-Trois on it, right? Like, he probably didn't really read it. He just saw the top part and was like, what is she wearing?
Or it's camo, and he was like, why is there a bush with a pink logo that says Menage-A-Pod on it walking through this area here?
Or he just,
is that a ghillie snoot? Is she a sniper?
All of a sudden, there's just a pink talk bubble floating in the air. Yeah, he got very confused.
When you said a pink talk bubble, I swear to God, I thought you were going to say a pink taco. I got so fucking excited.
Well, I'm going to keep that joke to myself. Okay, so I have a story.
Go ahead, bring it.
Did you see my Facebook the other day?
I did, and your Instagram. You're starting to be like me. You're cross-posting.
I am. I learned that from you, probably.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, someone stole my underwear, my undergarments from my shared laundry room. So, like, I obviously live in a high rise. We all know this.
Ivory Tower.
And I don't have my own washer and dryer unit, which is super annoying, but there's one in my basement. And it's like clean and open and like airy and bright.
Are we
It's
talking
not
about your
scary.
vagina? Oh, no, you said not scary, not your vagina. Never mind.
Also not open. This is a select few that I allow to go do that.
A select few?
Yeah.
100?
Like 30.
Okay. That's
You know,
fair. Yeah.
I mean, I can't get crazy. There's only 30 days usually in a month. One a day.
This is true.
It's just gotta, yeah. No. So anyway, my I go downstairs and I'm washing them, whatever. I wash them in like a lingerie bag, I think they're called, or like a garment bag.
A garment bag.
Do you know what those are?
Yeah, it's like a mesh bag.
Yeah. How do you know this? Do you wash your
No,
undergarments?
again, I used to be married, and at one point I lived with 5 women. So.
Okay, right, yeah. So anyway, it's like this mesh bag, and so you could see that there's underwear in there, but I really only put like the good stuff in there, like the expensive stuff, the stuff that like you only take out on like special occasions, you know? So it's not just like your everyday stuff. Anyway, it ended up being stolen, which was like huge bummer and also really creepy because I feel like, why are you stealing my underwear, stranger?
Well, maybe if you didn't have such desirable undergarments, that wouldn't have happened.
I
Jenna.
know. And they were expensive too, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't like the cheap shit.
Oh, no. It wasn't
It
like
got
your
real
Walmart.
fancy
It
in
wasn't
there.
your Walmart
It wasn't
panties?
my Walmart undies. It was like nice stuff, you know? So anyway, poof, gone. And totally fine. Whatever. It is what it is. But I'm a little creeped out. And I know it was an intentional move, I think, because it was like taken out with there was other stuff in there. So they like had to remove the garment bag.
Sure.
Right?
So do you when they review the footage, is that when I'm going to get caught?
Probably.
Okay.
Although, you know what's funny is I got a lot of people when I posted it, I got a lot of people responding like, ooh, this is super awkward. They all made the same joke. And they're like, by the way, we just saw that on eBay. Should I have not bid on it? Like, there was a lot of jokes. Everyone has a joke. Anyway, it's
We
super
all got
creepy.
jokes.
And now I'm out a bunch of fucking money and underwear.
And plus, there was the one pair of underwear that you have that has like that hidden pocket where you keep all your drugs, and you'd forgotten that was in there.
You can keep drugs in your underwear?
And this is where we find out that Jenna doesn't do drugs. And anyone out there who's ever done drugs is like, yes, frequently that is where the drugs go.
I wish people could have seen my face. I was really shocked about that. I was like, wait, because
I
while
wish
you're
people could have seen
saying
my face because I just look dumbfounded. I'm like, of course. Like, that's why when they arrest people, the first thing they do is go into their fucking underwear.
they do?
Yes.
What do you mean? Like when you're like in the jail?
I mean, no, if they'll search your underwear like on.
Shut up.
Oh, for sure. I remember when we had our liquor store, one day there was this crazy fucking druggy dude who would always shop there. And one day he got really aggressive, like wouldn't leave the stores there for like hours, was harassing customers, fucking with my buddies. And a friend of mine was a cop. And I was like, I'm just going to I'm not going to call the cops. I'm going to text my buddy who I know is on duty.
Sure.
And I'm going to be like, hey man, can you just inadvertently show up here and then deal with this fucking clown? As soon as and the guy was parked in handicaps, so it was like a ready-made thing. Chris pulls up and he's like, walks and he's like, hey man, who's parked in this handicap? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then Chris points to the guy, he's like, is this you? And then within like 20 minutes, there were like 6 cops there and they in the back room found crack in his underwear.
What?
Mm-hmm.
But see, that actually kind of freaks me out a little bit because like they obviously have to stick their hand down your pants to get to your underwear. And this feels like
unless you wear it on the outside, which is, you can do that.
Oh, it feels like an abuse of power is all I'm saying. Like if I was arrested, if I was arrested by a cop and then he tried to stick his hand down my pants and was like, oh, I'm just looking for drugs. That feels like that's a slippery slope.
Well, and you're also a woman, so it would go down a little differently.
Oh, another woman cop would probably
another
do it.
female cop would do it, or they would
What
take
if that's
you to
my
jail.
thing?
I mean...
I'm just saying.
I kind of wish, I mean, it's my thing. If a female cop wants
I'm
to
pretty
film-
sure it's probably a porn. It's probably already been done.
Oh, I'm sorry, officer. No, I don't have anything. You're going to have to check me. What is this?
I don't have anything on the outside,
What?
right? Like, could you imagine?
Oh, outside? Are we doing cavity searches now?
Of my underwear. So she would
Okay.
God.
All right. Just, I mean, guys, Jenna does
Does
not
it
understand
become
the lay of the land.
Does it become a fantasy if I have to explain it more? You know what I mean? You'd be really bad at role play.
You know what I mean? I'm so good at role play. I frequently role play with women that I'm not an absolute emotional disaster.
That is fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even make a joke about that. That's the truest statement I think you've ever made.
Yeah, and it was great. It's great because it was like a joke, but it was true.
Yeah. Totally. Totes. You're so silly. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah.
I've missed your face.
Well, whenever we recorded the episode with your sister, which why don't we talk about that a little bit?
My God, she's like killing it. Like she's been on, gosh, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He was so cute. Some guy from ABC. What else is she going to be on? What did I say? There's a couple serious radio shows she's going to be on. All of the details I do not know. So, sorry. But the point is she's killing it. And then Girl with No Job on Instagram actually reposted her book and talked about how funny it was. So I think she's doing really well. And I'm really happy for her because I didn't say this on the episode. I feel like I might have said it to you off air, but I feel like when she first got sick, she lost her sparkle. I don't know how else to explain it. But now that she's
you can buy glitter.
just sprinkling it everywhere.
Yeah.
She just walks into a room and just throws it everywhere. No, but she kind of lost it for a long time because she was sick and depressed and sad. And then the divorce hit and it was even worse, right? But I feel like she's finally starting to get back to the sister that I know and love, but lost for a couple of years.
Sure.
So I'm really, really excited for her. Thank you to everyone who listens, who bought her book. I really appreciate it. I know she does too. And you're not just doing us a favor. It's a really cute book. It's really funny, and I think a lot of people will like it. So that's it. That's all I got.
All right, G. Well, I feel like now's as good a time as any to get to the guest. What do you think?
I think. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what's up with the delayed reaction? Did you have a severe head trauma today?
I don't know. You just never ask me that question, do you?
I do.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
I'm trying to empower you.
Oh, is that what you're trying to do?
It is. It's an empowerment movement. We're toppling the patriarchy together through that. That's my one gesture for the day.
Thank you for that. She says.
Well, let's get to it. Today's guest is someone that I've met a handful of times. She's one of my favorite people in the Chicago comedy scene. Ariel Julie is a small Jewish comedian from Chicago just trying to reach the top shelf without a step stool, even though there's literally one right there and it would only take 2 seconds for her to move it. Her comedy is brash, bold, and filthy, often incorporating original songs performed with the ukulele. And she's performed throughout the Midwest, having featured and headlined at some of the smallest Midwestern clubs and bars that you have definitely never heard of. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ariel Julie, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
And we are absolutely thrilled to have you. I have to say, before we jump into anything, when I know we've been talked about you coming on for a while, but when I started talking to Jenna about it in the last few weeks, of all of the people that I've been like, oh, hey, I'd really like to have this person on the show, Jenna's usually pretty supportive about it, but sometimes yeah, sure, whatever, that's fine. But when I brought you up, she was like, oh, she sounds so interesting. I can't wait to talk to her.
This is true. I did say that.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm
except I was cuter when I said it.
I 100% believe that. TJ does a terrible impression of you.
Terrible. Don't ever do that on stage.
Yeah, impression comedy, that's not really my niche. All right, so before we get too far off track, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like your age, are you dating, are you single, where you're from? What's your story?
Oh, gosh. I am 30. I'm from Chicago. I am a comedian by evening and weekend. And I am now, I've joined the many of the pandemic era in making money via OnlyFans. Yeah, that's sort of the bio.
That's a good bio. I know Jenna's video is frozen on my screen, but if you could see her, she reacted with absolute satisfaction as you were talking. She was like,
I'm excited about this. I think that's what got me. Mostly because we always joke that, well, it started when we were on a friend's podcast and the joke was that I had an OnlyFans and I was like, I don't think that I do. I didn't actually really know what it was at the time. And then afterwards I was like, what is this? And now I'm into it. So into it. So I was really excited to hear that.
I didn't know what it was either for a long time. I really learned about it until maybe May of 2020.
That's good timing, right?
As good as any.
I guess my question is, I know with the pandemic and everyone kind of looking for ways to make ends meet, but I know the story, but how do you make the leap? Like, I know for you, it seemed kind of a natural thing, like being a comedian and then ended up starting your OnlyFans. But I know you worked kind of tangential to that industry for a while. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So for a long time, I was actually a nude model. I still technically am a nude model, like for art classes. So like behind me are some drawings actually that people have done of me. So those are both drawings of me. And I started doing that in college in 2010. So I did that like through college, and then a couple years after I graduated, I started doing it again. And then I worked full time actually as a nude model for one semester about 5 or so years ago. And then ever since then, I've just it's like been a side hustle. So like all of that is to say that being nude in front of strangers is not really new to me.
Right.
It's like a pretty comfortable space for me. And I never thought that people hired me all the time because of the way I looked. Like I always just assumed I got hired a lot as a model because I had a car, frankly, and I'm like a punctual, reliable person. I didn't really flake out. A lot of models tend to flake out on like sessions a lot, and like I can sit still for a long period of time really well. So I was like, oh yeah, like I'm just a good model, and I didn't think it had anything really to do with like my body type. And then people would like say like, well, duh, like, of course you get booked all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I don't know. It took a minute for me to like make a connection that like maybe the way I look has something to do with why people keep paying to see me naked.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long do you have to sit to be a nude model? I've always wondered that.
It depends. Usually classes are about 3 hours, but you sit for about 25 to 30 minutes until you get a break. Unless you're doing like a gesture pose, which could be like a really short pose that might be 30 seconds. It might be 2 minutes. It might be 5 minutes. And then a long pose. The longest I've ever sat for without a break was maybe 45 to an hour, maybe. These poses behind me were probably about 20 minutes each, maybe 20.
Those are made in 20 minutes?
Blankets. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But so they drew them start to finish in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I know they look like incredibly in depth. I don't like, it would take me like hours and hours and hours to come up with something that's like 10% as good as that.
This artist is Joel Aris. He's out in Texas. He's been doing it a long time. So these are just like real quick sketches for him.
Okay. So
impressive.
We know we talked about this a little bit already, you being a comedian, and I know I've seen you perform live before, and you do use a ukulele and incorporate a fair amount of music to your set. Do you think that the choice to do that, like, have you always been a musician? Is that something that you were interested in before this, or what was the impetus behind that?
I've been writing songs since I was like 5, and like I can show you my 70-page wide ruled notebooks with my terrible 5-year-old handwriting full of all of the songs I wrote, and they were often about all the boys I had crushes on. About heartbreaks I had not experienced, given that I was in fact 5, or 7, or however old I was. So I've been writing songs forever, and I play music. I mean, I played viola, which is not a cool instrument to play, but I do play it. And the like musical comedy part, always loved Stephen Lynch. Like he was the guy when I was in like junior high. That was when like Special Ed and Superhero and all of those songs came out. And then his like next album with Craig Christ and My Girlfriend's a Nazi, like great songs. Mm-hmm. And then like Dimitri Martin sort of did musical
piano stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and then like later Bo Burnham kind of did some like artsy kind of version of musical comedy. And so like it was always something that interested me. I did stand up first. I did in fact 2 open mics of just jokes, and they went fine. And then I had written a song. It was actually not a ukulele song. It was a parody to The Little Mermaid's Part of Your World. It was called Pick of Your Dick. And I brought the music to the mic I was at, 'cause I knew they had the audio capabilities to like play music over the speaker that I could sing over. And I sang that song, and I had written it months before I ever even thought I would try stand up, like months before I ever even went to my first open mic. And so I did it, and people laughed, and I was like, whoa, that was cool. And then a couple weeks later, I wrote my first like ukulele song called Tinder Hookup, which I still play and I still perform. People still enjoy it. And I wrote that before I had the ukulele. So I was like, oh, this song is fun, but like it needs a ukulele. So I bought one on Amazon, and here we are.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's hysterical. Well, as you know, we are ostensibly a podcast about sex, dating, and relationships. So when we talk to people about things, we like to sometimes talk about how their creative pursuits or the things that they do in their life have impacted their current or previous or potentially future relationships. So, you'd mentioned that you are a comedian. We talked about you doing nude modeling and having your OnlyFans account. And even in previous conversations, didn't you worked kind of adjacent to like the burlesque industry? What did you do with that?
Oh, yeah. I was a lighting and sound designer for a burlesque troupe for about 8 years.
Okay. So with all those things, I'm sure, being an attractive, talented woman, you've dated people throughout these times. Would you say that any of those things, I've heard from other comedians that can be something that's hard for significant others, or if you're dating casually, whatever, that can kind of really complicate things. I guess the first question would be, do you feel like your pursuit of comedy has made it harder for you to date or impacted your dating life at all? And then beyond that, would you say that it has impacted more or less than your other more kind of like sex industry adjacent pursuits?
Loaded
question.
I don't even know where to start. Let's start here. I was a serial dater from the age of 20 all the way through 27. Basically, it was when I got in my, like at that point, the longest relationship I had ever been in. And that guy sucked, as it turns out.
Most of us do.
Yeah, but he sucked in like a very like shitty dude sucky way, but he never was unsupportive, oddly enough, of like modeling or anything like that. He just was an alcoholic who like believed that Blue Lives Matter. Like he just sucks. Not my cup of tea, really. So, but up until then, I was a serial dater, and I really don't know what dudes thought about like the nude modeling. Like they knew about it for sure, and a lot of them seemed cool with it. But I never really cared what they thought about it because it wasn't going to change. A lot of dudes thought it was awesome. It might have made some dudes uncomfortable. Honestly, I really don't remember or care. So yeah, comedy, dating and comedy.
Red flag of all red flags.
The worst of the red flag. I remember the very first comic I ever went on a date with was like 5 or so years ago, and I didn't know he was a comic at the time. He was working at some restaurant or whatever, and I was sitting across from him, and he's like, "Oh, I also do stand-up comedy," and I was like, "Oh, okay. So how long have you had depression?"
When was your formative trauma? Where did that happen?
Yeah, like when were you diagnosed? Like, and he was like, it's funny you should say that, 12. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, duh. Obviously. So like that was the first comic I dated a few before I did comedy myself. All of them, if they are still doing comedy, have been very supportive and lovely, and have remained anonymous. And that is the way that we both would prefer it to be. So everyone's been very respectful. Currently, I am dating a comic. So I would say that comedy has greatly impacted my dating life, in that it's how I met my boyfriend.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue, since you have a boyfriend, and we obviously talked about the OnlyFans, and that brings upon kind of a two-front question. The first front being, and this is something, again, you and I have talked about in conversations where we weren't recording, in our podcast and my like little low grade bullshit pursuit of D- Chicago level fame. I have I have definitely had a lot of people with opinions about what I do, about the way I'm leading my life creatively and the angles that I take. Some of these people are people that are my friends or socially acquaintance, but a lot of times it's women I date. So there's a lot of like things that I do artificially on social media to create additional attention for me. And I've seen when I am very forward about being in a relationship with someone, that it does negatively impact like our page impressions, our downloads, our like those. And is that something that you feel like you've seen with the OnlyFans? Like,
like
in that, like, you feel like if they know that you have a boyfriend or that you're in a relationship, that there will be like less interest around it, or that people will have different sort of reservations around looking at it?
Yeah, I do. And there's a couple reasons for that though. Some of it is because people that like might know who I am dating like are kind of like, well, I don't want to see that person make an appearance on your OnlyFans. That doesn't do anything to me. And that's fine. And like, if we're being honest, you're not going to see him on there unless you pay for the video. So that's on you. But as far as like, do I lose followers if they find out that I have a boyfriend or subscribers or whatever? I mean, yeah, I think I have lost some. I definitely have lost like they might continue to subscribe, but they might not like spend as much on like the extras, like videos or photo sets or whatever it is. 'Cause there's kind of that like fantasy of like, we live in the same city, you know, we might run into each other, you know, we might, you know, I've seen everything, but she doesn't know who I am. Like my subscribers can choose that anonymity if they would like. And many do. So, I mean, it definitely can complicate things. So as you know, I don't really advertise on social media that I am in a relationship. I don't deny it.
Sure.
But
and
also,
there are subtle, as someone who knows you and the man you're dating,
yeah.
I knew who it was before you ever told me. There were like subtle clues. Like if you pay close enough attention, you figure
They're
it out.
not that subtle. Like they're pretty, you know, if you know both of us, then, you know, it's fine. But I will say, even before OnlyFans, even before I did comedy, I wasn't like a relationship status on Facebook kind of girl. Like I've never really had like a big social media relationship except for when I was like a freshman in college. 'Cause at that point I had only had Facebook for like a year. And that was like my first boyfriend ever, you know? So like, yeah, we did a lot, but you know, now it's like 10 years later,
Sure.
years later. So like, I've never really been like that anyway.
I'm assuming you guys have probably had multiple conversations about this, but like, how does he feel about that?
Oh my
That
God.
was the second prong.
Was it the second prong? Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking like, we have so many conversations about like social media being an issue and relationships just in general, you know, jealousy issues and things like that. And then like, you know, if someone's sort of hiding you, we get that a lot. Like people will write in and say that a lot. It's like, I feel like they're not posting me. If they're not posting me, do we really exist kind of thing? And like, should I be worried is usually a question we get. So how does he feel about you just not being so upfront about it? I'm sure he understands, but.
Oh, he's fine with it. Like
Yeah.
I've got a unique one. So he's very understanding, sure, but he's also like, oh yeah, I'm not a big relationship on, so like I don't want to tag you and be like brunch with this one. Like he's not that guy either.
He's not TJ. No. Ooh, that's awkward.
No, like, I'm just not like those people really. So yeah, he's totally fine with it. He definitely will like post more about it. Like he's way more likely to tag me in something or post about the fact that we're dating than I am. But like, you know, he likes, you know, he's excited to date me. Who wouldn't be?
That's adorable.
So, I mean, yeah, like we're good. He's good with it. He's got a healthy ego, so he's not super concerned.
You kind of have to.
So
I think to be able to be in that situation, I would think. Also, like comedians, I know there's a little bit of, I know there's trauma there, but there's also a bit of an ego there too. So that makes sense to me. But at least the one that's sitting across from me at the moment.
And
I'm
barely a comedian. Barely. So sorry. All right. So I was going to ask you, I think I already know the answer to the question, but you and your current relationship, you guys didn't you just start dating since like the pandemic and quarantine and everything?
Yeah, we got together, I want to say like 3 weeks before the official lockdown. I mean, that's when we like started hooking up. We didn't make our relationship official until like April, but yeah.
Do you think that, and this is, I'm making no assumptions here, it just kind of popped in my head. Do you think that when you guys started your relationship, that the timing like helped or hindered? I think that a lot of people who were getting into things like right at the beginning of this, it was like, and the timeline for you, it seems like it would be perfect, 3 to 4 weeks. And then suddenly you're like, okay, we can kind of lock down together. And like, we have this thing and you guys seem to share a lot in common. So that seems like a pretty like ready-made connection. Do you think that helped, or that it made it harder to start a new relationship with all that going on?
I honestly don't think we would be in a relationship at this point if the pandemic hadn't happened. And the reason, like, I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. I think that like we would have liked each other. I definitely think we would have hooked up for sure. But the way that his job was and the way that my job was and doing comedy and everything, if the world hadn't shut down, I just don't think we would have had time to see each other. Because it did. And we were like starting to explore this new thing. It's like I had just finished grad school, so I didn't have a job. He was in the service industry, so he didn't have a job. So we just had like this awesome 2.5 months where both of us were basically completely unemployed, and like we just hung out all the time, and like we never fought, and it was really fun. And we're like, well, this is going pretty good. Let's do it until it sucks.
Well, it's funny that you talked about it like that, because I was in a relationship during the pandemic and I was unemployed through all of last year and she was furloughed. So the first like 2 months of our relationship, neither of us were working and we were both like on unemployment and just like hanging out in her condo, living the dream. And then when she went back to work, that was hard. Because suddenly, like this person that I was getting like all of this attention from all of the time. And it just so happened, it corresponded like the Sunday before she went back to work, she came down to visit me in the burbs. And we ended up having like the most like emotionally deep and taxing conversation I've ever had with a human being in my life. Like we exposed like trauma and was like deep. And then she started work. And it was like a new job, and she was like, she'd been furloughed after only a couple months there. So she was still adjusting. And we went from constant contact, all seeing each other every day, talking constantly, to like almost no contact, like overnight. And that was so unbelievably jarring. So it's like, I think right now there are a lot of people that are going to be in for a surprise, because a lot of relationships, I think, have been helped along by some, I don't want to say artificial, because if your relationship got to this point because you went through this, your relationship is assuredly strong, but the circumstances that really started up a lot for a lot of people, or that really put this framework in place to make it easy to really put the time and effort into building something with someone, when we've had a year of we can't do anything, restaurants are closed, we're spending all of our time with just like a small handful of people, and then suddenly the world's back open. I'm very interested to see how that impacts relationships.
I mean, I think it's
No, you go.
I think it's a really good test, to be honest, right? Because like life isn't stagnant like that, right? It's always changing. People could get sick. People could lose their job. People could, I don't know, have to move for a job. I think it really tests a relationship. So I think it's a good test. I think like it just kind of sets you up for like what your life is going to be like. You know what I mean? If you can get through this pandemic with someone, you can probably get through a lot, And I have
a lot of respect for you, because I went on the last time I went on vacation with a woman, it was like 4 days. And at the end, we wanted to like kill each other. So the fact that you started and have had a successful relationship through this, kudos to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like it was an adjustment when we started working again, because we both are working full time now, and we're both doing comedy. He's actually doing a show right now, and I, am like we don't see each other nearly as often as we did, but it's kind of like there are like 3 or 4 days a week that we definitely do see each other still, and we make that time, and like we're kind of more slowly integrating back, and like this is what society is. But the nice part about the way that our relationship started and where it is now is that, like, yes, it started with so much time together where we could just like have that honeymoon phase and like enjoy it, and it's like it's you and me against the world, okay. And now it's like, you know what, I trust him. I'm not like worried about us not spending enough time together. Like, I know that, like, he was supposed to come over last night, and I was like, you're not going to get here till 9. I'm about to pass out. It's like 9:30. It's just not going to work out, and that's not making me anxious if I'm not going to see you tonight. Like, it's fine. You'll come over in 2 days, and it'll be fine.
You sound like way too like emotionally and mentally healthy to be a comic.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
She's like, wait till I'm off camera.
No,
just kidding.
I'm a very level-headed. I think that's why everyone in the scene had a crush on me, or still has a crush on me. Probably, I don't know. But I am so lucky and completely, like, just genetic lottery. I happen not to have a history of mental health issues. It just, that's been my draw. And if you have them, then, no judgments, and do what you got to do. And everybody goes through their own things. I just happen not to have had any.
So I have a question as you're talking. I'm thinking, like, so you have a very public persona, right, as a comedian. How does that work when you also have an OnlyFans? Like, is there, right? 'Cause I would have to think like the only other person I'm thinking of right now is Sophia, right? Sophia Chase. She owns a couple of the dungeons.
Chicago Dungeon Rentals.
Oh, yeah.
And we had her on an episode. She's great. And that's her job. Like, that's her full-time job. Mm-hmm. And so it's always interesting to me to see people who have crossovers with other things that are pretty public, right? So I guess my question is, how does that work for you?
I mean, doing OnlyFans as not your full-time job is going to be a risk to whatever else it is that you do or want to do. Whether you've had 100 subscribers or 10 subscribers, it could still be a risk, because it just takes one shitty person to feel like, because I've seen your tits, or because I've seen your butt or your vagina or whatever, I'm going to put forth effort and time and energy to making your life more difficult just for reasons, even if the person's not conscious of that. There's definitely an unconscious bias that I think a lot of people, mainly men and women, though, no, just people, have towards sex workers, and towards women who show their bodies online, and especially women who show their bodies online for money. And like, I can't take that bias away. So like, are there people in the Chicago comedy scene who book shows who have also subscribed to my OnlyFans? I believe so. Yes. Is that going to help or hurt my bookability? I have no idea. It might help.
I would think it would draw a crowd. Yeah.
It might help because maybe they don't know that I'm dating someone, and maybe they think that they can sleep with me. And honestly, if I wasn't dating someone, they'd probably be right. But, I don't know. But,
and you got people out there who have the irrational confidence, and they don't really care if you're dating someone or not. If they think you're hot and they want to shoot their shot, they're going to shoot their shot.
Mm-hmm.
They sure do. They still do. Every day. Every day. And that's fine. And I love the attention, so I don't care. And my partner trusts me and loves that other people hit on me, because, as he puts it, why would I want to date somebody that no one else wants to date?
That's fair. That's true. I think my other question is what I'd love to dive into is, I know you had mentioned doing, starting it at the beginning of the pandemic, obviously, because your industries were sort of shut down and it was probably a financial thing. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so empowering and so amazing when I hear stories like this. Mostly because I don't know if I have the confidence enough to do my own, which is the only reason I probably haven't really done my own. So I'm always in awe of women who have such a confidence in themselves that they are willing to do something like this. I think it's awesome. But what I'm wondering is, sort of what was that like iteration like for you, like to go out of doing, well, I guess you're still probably doing comedy, but like to go from something like comedy to starting an OnlyFans, like take us through that journey of like what that was like for you and what, how it started. Cause like in my brain, I always think like if I started one, I would start with like people who have a foot fetish and then I would like work my way up, right? Like,
You have some of the ugliest feet I've ever seen in my fucking
I hate
life.
feet. Fuck you. But I hate feet.
Those dogs
like,
are barking.
You're such an ass. That's not true. When have you ever seen my feet? My feet are never out. You're such an asshole. Anyway, my point is like, I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because I don't have one, I don't understand, but like there has to be an iteration. Like, did you just dive in head first? Like, here I am.
Well, I don't think head first is the first. I mean, maybe,
or
probably
did you
not.
like just start?
She just did a headshot. It was like
start teasing out body parts,
It's way cuter when you do it. What the fuck?
Here's the arm. Here's the wrist.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how does it work? Were you just like, here I am, world?
Well, it's Jenna. So the other thing to note is that I had a very promiscuous Instagram also prior to OnlyFans. So there were many nudes on there. I had done boudoir shoots before I ever did OnlyFans. So like I already had a slew of like nudes or semi-nudes or, soft core, whatever images. So I already had a lot of them. And taking more is just, it's a fucking selfie, like it's whatever. So like the journey to like go from comedy to OnlyFans, I didn't go from comedy to OnlyFans. I still do comedy and I was doing comedy the entire time. I just was, the real story, I wrote an article about this.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, for the Fancy Boys Club. It's an article or it's a blog by Matt Drefke and Jack Baker and a couple other Chicago suburb comedians. It's great. And they're publishing a series that I'm doing about OnlyFans. But in the very first article, I talk about like the impetus that had me start this because people asked me for months, like April through August, basically. People were like, are you going to do one? Like, you're already naked on your Instagram all the time. Like, are you going to make one? And I was like, no, probably not. What happened was I got in a car accident in July. It wasn't my fault. Everyone's fine. But like, I had to spend money on just owning a car. And like, I just ended up dropping like $1,000 in like a month just because I owned a car. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't even working full time at that time. And I'm like, I want to make that money back. And that's honestly how I started nude modeling professionally. Like I did it in college, but then I didn't do it for a couple of years. What happened was I got a speeding ticket and I was like, oh, I need like $120 right now. So I like asked some artists who taught classes at the art center that I worked at and was like, can I sit for your classes? And they were like, sure. And then they kept hiring me because I was good at it. But yeah, this was just like, oh, I like lost a bunch of money real quick. And I was like, I need to make it back. And then I was like, okay, I'll just like make this OnlyFans. So I had no strategy. I love that you were like, I'd start with like foot. I'm like, I had no plan. There was no strategy. There was no, like, it was just like, here's a nude. Here's like a mirror selfie where I'm naked. I think I did two like back to back where I was like totally naked, but wearing two different pairs of shoes. And I was like, which one do you like better? and then I just posted every day and I had nowhere, like the only following I have on social media is Instagram and Facebook. I don't have Snapchat. I made a Twitter last week, like I just didn't have that kind of following. So I was like, if I'm going to get people to subscribe, it's going to be people who already follow me.
Sure.
So That's where I advertised.
So a couple of questions about that. So one of the things that I know just from like actually knowing you and being connected with you on social media is that you've had some issues with your content, particularly on Facebook, I believe, where you've gotten some short-term bans and some things removed. What goes on with that?
Wondering about that. They're so strict with stuff like that, I would think.
The only time I've gotten reported, so I just at the beginning just posted my link, like it was OnlyFans. Actually, originally my username was onlyfans.com/ArielJulie, because I was like, well, if people are finding me from Instagram and Facebook, they already know that I'm Ariel Julie. Like they already know my name.
Right.
So it's like, why would my username need to be something else? Because, like, who am I fooling? They already know who I am. But then like, as I started getting more, like people referred me and then people on OnlyFans found me and like more strangers found me. I was like, okay, I should probably take my name off there. So I changed it. So now but I'll still tell you that my username is Backyard Comedian, but it's a U instead of the O. Very clever. So now my link is like onlyfans.com/comedian, comedian or whatever.
Yeah.
So, what was the original question?
So the question was about you getting when people reported you on Facebook. What happened with that?
Oh yeah. So I posted the link under and like in captions and stuff before, like onlyfans.com, blah, blah, blah. And I'd seen a lot of other people that I knew, particularly people in the burlesque circuit who I had worked with, had OnlyFans, but they like weren't writing it out, or they were putting like zeros for the O's, so like the bots wouldn't find it. And I was like, why? Because OnlyFans as a platform has made it very clear that they are not just sex work. So like Facebook and Instagram can't just say, oh, you wrote OnlyFans, so clearly you're selling sex, because you might not be. But I did get in trouble when I posted like a full nude with my Black Friday 30% off deal. And then with the link plastered over my alleged nipples. Facebook, they didn't like, the account warned me. So like nothing about my functionality changed.
Okay.
It like deleted the story. And same with Instagram. They were just like,
well, wasn't there a picture you posted where you were like laying on your stomach and it was like viewed from behind or something? And
oh yeah, there was another one that Instagram did take off, which was so weird because I was on my stomach, but the way that my foot was kicked up, it completely covered my butt crack. So I was like, Kim Kardashian literally just posted a picture of her nipples. And you're like banning, like I have 600 followers. What do you care? Like you can't even. So that one I thought was like weird.
But does someone have to report that? So like, was it one of the people that
someone certainly reported
right? Someone
it.
had to have, otherwise they wouldn't have found it. It's not like you're right, searching someone who has 600 followers. You're probably lower on their radar as a.
I mean, I think the one with the OnlyFans link, I think that was like a bot.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it found it so quickly, like that had to have been a bot. And I posted stuff like that before. But just not with like 30% off in like really big letters,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the foot thing, I have no idea who or why, but yeah, so.
Well, here's one more social media question before we take a quick detour. So when you and I first met and became connected on social media, you would message me and like I gave you my Instagram handle because we were already Facebook friends, and you followed my Instagram. And when I followed you back, you did not immediately accept because she does have a private Instagram account. Now, before she accepted, she messaged me. She was like, "Hey, I know we don't know each other super well, but just a heads up, like my Instagram has like a fair amount of nudity." Like, and I was like, yeah, okay, who cares? Whatever, that's fine. And she accepted me, and that was kind of that. But the reason I bring this up, and since we've already talked a little bit about both you having an OnlyFans and like Facebook and Instagram both at times doing things to sort of moderate your content, do you have that sort of when you first meet people or first connecting on social media with people, especially when it's not like when it is more from something that's not related to that, do you usually ask those sort of questions before you connect with people just to make sure that you're not going to get reported or that's not like.
Only people who I see as more of like a colleague.
Got it.
And so you were somebody who, like you mentioned, we had connected on social media, like on Facebook. And so I knew that you were like, you had this very successful podcast. Like you have a great listenership and you have like a lot of connections with people, like bigger names in this scene. And so when we started like kind of chatting just like as friends, which, you know, was totally fine. But then you were like, okay, I'm going to friend you, like, or, you know, request you on Instagram. I'm like, okay, let me just like pre-warn you that like, I'm not hitting on you in this moment. And sometimes I do have to make that clear. Like a lot of guys, it's amazing. A lot of guys will be like, oh, what's your Instagram? And then I tell them what it is. And then they think all of those nudes are for them. They're like, oh, she's nude on the Instagram that she just gave me. Is she hitting on me? Because she wanted me to see her naked. And I'm like, no, I just want I want a follower.
Yeah. Men and their egos.
I don't really care. So with you, TJ, and then with a couple other people who maybe in the scene or maybe from, you know, other aspects of my life, I have given that disclaimer before just so they're not like completely like thrown off.
And that's probably a smart thing to do. And honestly, I want to segue from that and take this as an opportunity to make like a really big announcement. So if people in our listenership who, if you follow me on Instagram, I know Jenna hates when I do this, it's at Chicago Cafe Racer. From here on out, I'm going to just be doing once a day stories of my butthole. So I'm giving everyone a heads up right now. So be aware that if you are following me and you don't want to see that, you're going to need to stop following me.
You're going to have to mute those stories.
Mute those stories because that butthole is about to become a reality.
So excited.
She sounds like it. She sounds thrilled.
I mean, if there was like an opposite of mute feature, like a show this one always kind of thing.
Hey, I've been getting really, I've been going to bleach treatments. It's looking top shelf.
That's amazing.
Okay, so usually we like to end episodes where we're like, hey, tell us your worst or best dating story, usually the worst. But I feel like for this episode, I want to ask you, like, what is your craziest story, like OnlyFans story?
Okay. So there are two, but they're in the same kind of thing. So I just want to preface this that prior to OnlyFans, I have never done professional sex work. I am 100% an amateur. I'm going off like if somebody asked me to do something that I've never done before, like JOI, which stands for jerk off instruction. I've never seen or heard of that before this. I Google, and by that I mean I searched it on Pornhub and I watched a bunch of videos and then was like, oh, it's kind of like that. Okay, I could do that. So the first one is the guy who asked me to be his goddess. And he wanted a femdom. He wanted to be told what to do, and he wanted to be verbally abused, basically. And he wanted a lot of attention, but like mean attention, like constantly. But at the same time, like worshipped me like a lot. And so, at one point, because being a dominant person, like sexually, isn't really in my wheelhouse, like I can do it. Like I was a theater major. I can do anything. Like I can do any role, but like it's not my go-to. So I was like, it had been like 2 days and I was running out of ideas. So he's like, what do I need to do to prove my love for you? And I was like, write my name in Sharpie above your dick and send me a picture. And to this day, it is the funniest picture that I have on my camera.
That's amazing.
It is hysterical to me that I was like, why would you do that though? So that was that. That's what that kind of relationship culminated to.
Wait, can I ask a question? Yes. So sorry, we're gonna kind of get a little off topic here, but so we'll circle back to this. But I'm just kind of wondering, like you said, the second day he asked you to do this, like how often does this happen that they ask you? Is it like a daily thing where it escalates, or?
Yeah, we sort of had this like relationship for about a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a week of like, do this for me, do that, tell me I'm pathetic and gross, tell me I'm like a weak pervert or whatever. I'm like, fucking okay. Like at one point, like I was sitting next to my boyfriend. He was laughing his ass off. Like he was like, I can never do cams or like video chats or phone sex while he's here. Not because he would get jealous, but because he would be laughing his ass off in the other room. And there's no way that I'd be able to keep a straight face. While so he was like laughing hysterically, and I was like not in the mood in the moment. And so the guy was like, "What do you want me to?" And I was like, "Send me $50 like right now." And he was like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And now
can I get somebody like that in my life?
Seriously,
right? Like I just want your money, dude. I don't have time for you.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
But the other one, which is like, oh my God, this just happened. Like, what day is it today? It's what, Thursday? Wednesday. It's Wednesday. This happened on Monday or Sunday, one of the two. I got a guy who's into small penis humiliation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does he have a small penis?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen it. I charge for that now. I charge for dick pics. So you can send them, but just like PayPal me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jenny needs to get in on
you
that.
are a fucking masterful entrepreneur, Ariel. Oh my God.
We need to tell Jenny about that with her folder of dick pics. Like
I have a collage.
Yeah. So does she. And she doesn't get paid for it. She's doing something wrong.
She
I'm
really
gonna have to tell her to listen.
I didn't for many years. And now I'm like, no, you can pay me. You can pay me and have a look at your deck. But anyways, so this person in the world found me, I think, on Facebook and then subscribed to the OnlyFans. You know, that story, age old. And I don't remember how it came up, but at one point he was like, "Do you do SPH?" And I like Googled it and it said like small penis humiliation. I'm like, that can't be it. It can't be. And I'm like, and so I clarified, I'm like, by SPH, do you mean small penis humiliation? He was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, of course I do that. I do whatever you want me to do, baby. You know, like
Google it.
Yeah. Like I can Google anything. So yeah. And he was like, all right. He was like, can we do phone sex? And I was like, sure, I charge per minute. So like, that's fine. And like during our phone sex, like I'll, whatever you want to do. So he wanted me to be his coworker, and he wanted like to role play like he was calling me as his coworker, who I'm pretty sure is like a real life person. And he wanted to ask me out and then have me turn him down because I was fucking their manager, who's a total dick, I guess, and then proceed to small penis humiliate the fuck out of him, which I did. And honestly, as a comic, it was a great exercise in roast jokes. I wrote some of the best roast jokes that I have ever written. Like on the spot. I was so proud of myself. I even tweeted some of them because I was like, this is happening like right now.
That's so funny. Do you watch the show Bonding?
I haven't. It's on my list. It's been on my list forever, but
it's funny. I know that I feel like there was a lot of backlash around the first season from the sex work industry, and people were like, I don't know, got a little backlash for something. I wish I could speak more to it at the moment, but I don't remember. It was a year ago. I don't have that kind of memory. But the second season I watched, and the whole like premise is it like the second season just came out, and the whole premise is that like one of the guys is a comedian and he uses his like experience in the industry as part of his comedy act. Is that something, really quickly before we scoot, like, is that something you would do? I mean, you just made the joke about like doing the best roasts ever. Like, could it carry over?
Incorporating bits about OnlyFans into comedy. I have been trying to do this basically since I started the OnlyFans in August because there are so many great stories.
Yeah. It's like you don't even have to think about it. It's just presented to you.
Yeah. I just have to like figure out the setup and the punchline. Yeah. And then, make it shorter for brevity, but like, there is a strategy to talking about OnlyFans on stage that I've picked up over the last couple months, that like one of the big things is you don't want to come off like you're making fun of, you know, the OnlyFans, or like you're attacking them, because many of the people in the audience might be subscribers, maybe not to you, but to other people.
Sure.
And some people, like, it's really interesting, and it's actually one of my jokes. Guys do not mind paying for sex, but guys do not like being reminded that they are paying for sex.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are dudes, like there are crowds, especially like in Indiana, they can laugh at themselves for being like racist, anti-abortion, Christian insurrection at the Capitol, kind of, you know, cross burning, KKK hood wearing, like anti-Semitic, just awful people. And I can get up there and tell jokes about being Jewish and tell Holocaust jokes and tell burning cross jokes and tell all of these, and they're like right there with me. They'll make fun of Trump with me. You know, like they are right there with me, and they're like, yep, we're rednecks, we're stupid, we're ridiculous, and we love dumb shit. Yeah.
You should, if the redneck, if the redneck lobby ever comes to you for like a marketing campaign, I think you just nailed the slogan.
Thank you. But then when you go out there and you go, men who pay for sex, oh, ridiculous. Like the crowd gets very quiet.
So interesting.
Like, oh, are we? So,
well, you know, men are fragile.
I do. And I make a big profit off of that fragility. So what I do now is I kind of say, like, I'll do some bit about like being a squirter, about, you know, shaving my pussy or whatever. And then I'll end it like, and if you'd like to know more, subscribe to my OnlyFans. And that always gets a laugh because people think I'm like half joking.
Yeah.
Right. But then like, I can be like, I am on OnlyFans. And then they're like, you know, what do we do with this information? And then I can then tell like really specific stories and kind of be like, well, one guy did this, or I had this one interaction that was like this. And then I can kind of make more general jokes, like, and then I go into like a Jewish thing, like I deserve your money more than you do. I know how to invest it. I'm Jewish, blah, blah, blah. And then they can get back on board about it, because now it's not about the OnlyFans specifically anymore. Now it's just like a Jew joke that's just sort of like on top of the fact that I am also on this platform. I know that's a very long answer to your question, but like I do talk in my act, but like you have to do it in such a way that like the audience is still with you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think hold on one second. All right, Jen, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm fascinated now. I want to subscribe.
Okay, that's funny that you mentioned
to yours,
that.
Not mine, to yours.
All right, Ariel, I just want to thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Before we go, why don't you take this opportunity, if you could, to just tell all of our listeners about where they might see you perform comedy, where they can find you online, and where they might see all of your lovely content.
Sure. So you can just go to allmylinks.com/ArielJulieComedy. That'll give you my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, and my OnlyFans, and even my Reddit, which I never use, but it is there. You can see me perform. I'll be in Bradley, Illinois, this weekend. It'll be Saturday night. It's a comedy fundraiser for the Looney Bin. It's the Looney Bash, so it'll be really fun. And in March, I will be at the studio in Lockport. And then in April, I will be at Chester's Video Bar in Indiana, just outside of Valparaiso. Yeah. And I'm sure, hopefully there will be more shows other than those three, but that's what's up for now. But in general, if you search Ariel Julie Comedy, you should find me.
All right. And before we go to the final wrap, I do want to tell a quick story. So I got to say, guys, I'm not an OnlyFans dude. I'm not like out there like it never in my mind was I like, oh, I'll subscribe to an OnlyFans. Well, when our guest today and I were recording for my other podcast, we talked a lot about her OnlyFans. And then afterwards, in that long conversation we had, I was just like, you know what? I've never done this. I would like to see this. So I subscribed to it. And in real time, of the next like 2.5 hours, a fair amount of that was us just like talking about it as it was presented. And like, it was kind of, honestly, full disclosure, one of the most interesting ways to get to know a human being ever in my life. And not just because of like seeing what I was seeing on screen, but like the way that it pushed our conversation. And it was not like a inappropriate or like particularly vulgar conversation. It was just like a fairly deep conversation.
It was very intimate. It was a very intimate experience having somebody who I only knew like peripherally and professionally mostly, to like subscribe, like as I was watching him.
Like I turned my monitor so she could see it on camera.
Yeah, like I was seeing exactly the pictures that he was looking at in that moment. And it's because like I've shown many people my tits before, but like to like watch somebody see a picture of your tits for the first time, like, I don't know, it was very intimate. I think it brought us very close as friends.
It did. I feel like that night we shifted from professional acquaintances to actual friends. Like when I woke up the next morning, I was like, she's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
He actually did say that to me.
All right, guys. So on that note, I do want to say, I cannot recommend it enough. You want to check out, we're going to put her main link in the show notes. From that link, you can get to all of her content, including her OnlyFans. Definitely do that. Support an incredible, talented, creative woman. And if you want to find out more about Menage-A-Pod, head on over to our Instagram at Menage-A-Podcast, where you will find our link tree that includes links to our Facebook group, website, merch store, and more. And a quick thank you to everyone who makes this show happen. Amazing guests like Ariel. Thank you again. Of course, Jenna, I love you, boo. Love you.
Too, man.
And me, because I rock. You guys for downloading and listening to the show. Until next time, share us in your IG stories and find other ways to tell a friend about Menage-A-Pod. And of course, good luck out there. Bye.
Bye.